Hey, this is Wei from the Six Figure Academy. And did you know that if you are struggling with money, or if you're not where you want to be financially, there is probably a destructive money story that's been running there since you were a child. Yeah. In more recent seminars and talks and keynotes that I've been giving, one of the most popular trainings that I've been doing recently are about re-engineering destructive money stories. And it's because what I found in a lot of our clients and students that those stories that run, those stories that dictate your decision-making process when it comes to money, when it comes to making money, when you're asking for money in a sales conversation, or when you're making an offer in a presentation, whether it be online or offline, it's that story that dictates whether or not you actually make the money. It's that same story that dictates how much you make a year. And it's also that same story that will dictate how much you make in a lifetime. So how important is it to be able to go in there and change that money story if it's not the story that you want running for the rest of your life? Extremely important. And we found that that money story component is actually the keystone piece to completely changing your life as an entrepreneur. And that's why it's so important to take the time to address that money story piece. The money story is a story that you learned about money growing up. It's a story that you learned before you even had a command of language. And what has helped create results over and over again for our clients is when we get down and we help our clients, number one, write down the narrative in a story, almost like a screenplay storybook format of the original story. Not the story that you experienced 5 years ago. Not the story they experienced 10 years ago. No, the story that you experienced growing up as a child. More importantly, if you can get back to somewhere between the age of 0 and 7, that's the story that you want to utilize. That's the story that you want to work on and shift and change and re-engineer so that your money circumstances today starts to change for the better. Because unless you do that, then it's going to be the same cycle. It's going to be like that hamster wheel over and over again. Okay? So number one, I can tell you how to do that right now. Number one, you want to write down the narrative of the origin story. Okay? Maybe start with talking about what money was like and what you saw growing up as a child inside your home. Then you want to identify all the key players, kind of like a screenplay again, right? Where you have all the different actors. There are key actors, the feature actors of each story. You want to write it down. Your mom, your dad, your siblings, maybe an uncle, maybe whoever was typically around when it came to the money flow in the household. Okay? Then, after you get that down, what you want to do is you want to basically write down all the emotions associated with each character, all the emotions associated with each part of the story. There's always a beginning, there's always a climax, and there's always an end. Okay? Then you want to look at all the different cycles you've had in your life, all the different times you run that money story, so that you can map it across and overlay it with the original story. What will start to happen is you're going to be able to start to identify breakpoints where you can start to break the pattern, to re-engineer the pattern, and rewrite the story to a money story that best serves you today in terms of what you want to achieve. So in your life growing up, if you've never experienced what it was like to make $1 million, then that's a story that needs to change. But you first need to release all the beliefs around that old story, all the charge around that old story, all the limiting thinking around that old story before you can create a new one to achieve a greater result today. Interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of different layers, but what I wanted to do today in this video was to just share with you a little bit of how important it is so that you can start thinking about what that money story is and how we can start to shift that to start giving you the life that you crave. If you know someone who's struggling from a destructive money story, share this video because as we say all the time, sharing is caring. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter. And again, if you haven't yet downloaded my free guide on From Money Anxiety, which is a symptom of a destructive money story, to Six-Figure Mastery, whether it be 6 figures a year or 6 figures a day, make sure you go to go.thesixfigureacademy.com, download it there, and that way you can start changing that money story to start giving you a better money circumstance today. What are you waiting for? Let's change that money story and start again giving you the life that you crave. See you in the next video.